There's a thing that has been going around the last week about Joe Silva. Now, do you guys remember Joe Silva? He was the vice president of the UFC, and the way Joe Silva came to work for the organization in the first place was just a great story. So, Joe was a traditional martial artist himself, largely in stand-up, and I want to say kickboxing. Muay Thai was like what he personally practiced and enjoyed the most, but he understood the sport, and he understood it at a time when nobody understood the sport. He understood mixed martial arts. He understood the tendencies. He understood different body type, right? Length, height versus reach, all these different things. And he understood all of these different styles before anybody else did. And he was just a fan. And I want to say it was like in the back of Black Belt magazine, but he found some kind of a contact, either email or phone number, to the UFC. And this might have even predated Dana. It might have been back in the SEG days. But at any rate, Joe Silva was so frustrated with the way guys were being matched up and the lack of thought put into some of the philosophies as to what would make for a great and compelling match that he reached out. And then he reached out again and he reached out again. And finally they wrote him back and said, well, how would have you done it? And so he told them not just how he would have done, but why. So then the next thing you know, he's going from email to he's taking a call to somebody says, why don't you just match the next card and I'll figure some way to pay. You tell me how you would do it. Because you're starting to make some headway with me here. I'm starting to see there's a little more to this than just throwing two bodies in there and let's see what happens. And that's how he got his job. I mean, that's how he got his start. I think that's a great story for a guy from the East Coast. I want to say Boston, Virginia is where Joe Silva lives. To all of a sudden be a vice president for an organization doing international business based out of Las Vegas. I just think it's very interesting. There was even a time when, and this was in the Dana days, when they told Joe, okay, if you're going to stay on as vice president, you're going to run this matchmaking, you need to be in Las Vegas. And Joe said, no, my family's in Virginia. I'm going to stay in Virginia. Well, he was so good at what he did, the response to him putting his foot down and saying no was, okay, hey guys, everybody else be in the office tomorrow at 9. Joe, you're staying in Virginia. I mean, he was really good at what he did. And Joe really deserves a lot of compliments for that. And some of the stories from the guys that have been coming out are very mean. And they were very mean because somewhere along the way, Joe had hurt their feelings and this was like this payback of sorts. But I don't know that if you listen to guys' stories, and they were largely telling them in social media, you will also probably miss there's tongue-in-cheek even in these stories. There was an appreciation to the attitude and the way that Joe Silva did things. And I have my own Joe Silva stories, but they were all positive. And some of them are very similar to some of the guys whose feelings Joe hurt. I just got it. I got Joe from the beginning. I understood that he was a hard worker with a ton of stuff to do. And like anybody, there's only so many hours in the day. Right. And I also understood there was a very big human element to Joe's job that Joe did not naturally fit. I mean, Joe had to become the bearer of bad news. He wanted that job to put on great matches for all of the fans and the viewers, help the promotion. Oh, and by the way, now he gets to sign guys. Now he gets to go out and study and watch tape and find the right deserving athletes and give them the opportunity they've dreamed of. Awesome. Then he finds out, oh, hey, Joe, by the way, you're also in charge of cutting everybody. Nobody here at the UFC cuts anybody except you. You're going to make all those phone calls. You're going to send all of that paperwork. You're going to collect it and you're going to get it to legal. And now he's going, oh boy. Yeah, that's part of my job. I'm going to do my job, but that's not the part of the job that fits within my personality. Joe is a very happy guy. He's a great husband. You would be shocked how much he loves that daughter of his. I mean, he's a proud man on top of everything else that was given a very hard job. And Joe Silva, like anybody, this is a part that some people did miss. Some people who got their feelings hurt miss this, guys. If I tell you you have to do something, and I then tell you you're going to have a very short amount of time to do it, okay? You're going to have 1 minute on a phone call. You're going to have 30 seconds face-to-face to do this. What's going to end up happening? You're going to end up being blunt because you have to be. And you're not going to have time for the niceties. Hey, how are you? How's the family? None of that. You're going to have to get right to the point. And what's that going to do? It's going to make you be rude. It's going to make you be rude. When you don't have time To do all of the nice and the letdown and the this and the that, you just got to come in and pull Band-Aids off, because then you got to move one locker room down and do it 2 more times before you get across the hallway and do it 3 more times, all before you're to the press conference. I mean, there was so many things, and that job went so fast that it shortened his time, made him get to the point, and sure, it could make it rude. But the bottom line is, everything was equal. Yeah, Joe had to give you bad news. But Joe was the guy that called in the first place to make all of your dreams come true. That gets forgot over time, and you only remember the negative interaction. I mean, it was one of these spots. It was very hard. It was very hard for him on a human level. Don't forget, this is also a 365 business. There's no seasons. So if Joe's got to call and cut somebody, oh, and by the way, that happens to be during holiday season, he's still got to make that phone call so that he can make the other phone call and replace a guy. I mean, that's just the business, but he got put in a very hard spot. It's a very hard job. And he did his end of it. Whether he hated doing that or not, he did his end of it. He was great. Joe Silva was great. There's a reason he ended up in the Hall of Fame. And I just would encourage these athletes to reflect back to those Joe Silva moments. And the truth is, he was good at what he did. And if he came and he knew who you are, and he dealt with you face to face, whether he hurt your feelings or not, that's what a leader does. That's how you do that. He was a vice president. He was a leader. He had decisions to make. He didn't skirt it and go through your agents and go through your man. He came right up to you face to face, man to man, and he would deliver the news. And every bit of bad news you got 2 pieces of bad news, that means you also got 2 pieces of good. And anybody that tries to tell the Joe Silva story differently is mistelling. Joe Silva worked hard. Joe Silva was right. He created a job for himself. He provided opportunity. It's a tough job. It cut both ways, but he did his job.